Hi folks, it's me, Robert J. E. Simpson here once again. Thank you very much for tuning in to the latest of my vlogs. Today, as I record this, is Sunday, 5th of April 2020. We are now several weeks into the coronavirus crisis, if you're watching this in the future, and reality is gradually becoming more and more blurred. Hopefully we'll keep our sanity for the next few weeks yet, in the months and the years to come. Anyway, today I thought I would briefly touch upon one of my favourite pastimes, and that is reading. Some of you are well aware that I do write. I have published on occasion, mostly non-fiction stuff. Although, weirdly, the other night, last week in fact, I was chatting to a writer friend of mine just about a mutual love of a certain television series, and we ended up getting into a plot thread development over via Instagram. So we were exchanging messages back and forwards, plotting out this story, and I really want to see where it's going to go to, although she has left me hanging for the last few days. So if you're watching this, please pick up the thread. It's your move. You need to write the next bit of the story, and I need to know how it's going on. That's how these collaborations work. But actually it's been a lot of fun, because I haven't tried to write fiction for many years. The last piece I think that I consciously did was a reworking of Frankenstein, which I did for a project that I was pitching around various people. My problem is I can't write dialogue at all to save my life. I have tried endlessly and it always sounds trite. I think I can plot reasonably well, and I can certainly edit other people's material and see the problems and how it should be shaped. But as a writer, I struggle, and I've lost a lot of confidence. Possibly these weeks in solitary confinement will help to change that, and it'll force me back in again. I do have some other non-fiction writing projects that I am working on. They are far more time consuming and sort of difficult, I guess, than I expected, but gradually getting there, and hopefully I'll have a couple of those finished whilst this goes on as well. But that's a sidetrack. But one of the writers that I return to again and again is Jon Ronson. Now, Jon Ronson is a rather quirky British writer, currently living, I believe, in New York. But he's been around for a very long time indeed. He has a background in journalism on television. He made a number of documentaries, which I love, I've got to be honest, and writes a lot for The Guardian, and then published a lot of his books as well, so sort of collections of his long-form essays, and then actually structured books themselves. Recently he's gone more to sort of ebook exclusives, which, you know, I kind of miss the joy of leafing through a brand new volume. I love the smell of the paper and the ink, and there's something for me very satisfying about physically flicking through the pages. I am not good at reading books when it comes to the digital world, even though I've kind of produced a couple of books for Kindle as an editor. It's not something I enjoy doing. I get tired of looking at the screen. I need to see an actual product there to be completely happy. Each to their own. But Jon Ronson's books are absolutely fascinating. I do love them. I love his turn. I first, even though I was probably unaware of him, the first time I was consciously aware of him was whenever I cited his essay and his documentary about Stanley Kubrick's boxes, which I believe is currently posted on Vimeo as well. So if you haven't seen it, it's really interesting. I was writing a chapter on Kubrick's myth and his on-screen, well, not his on-screen, his mythology and his image for a compilation book on Kubrick essays. So I did that some years ago, and I kind of had a look at Ronson stuff then, and it just sort of reawakened something, and I've kind of been looking at them since. I've met him a few times now at different signings. I think just about all of my Jon Ronson books are now signed by him. It's not stalker level, but you know, he's someone I'm very fond of, and I do like going to see him when I can. But one of the books I would heartily recommend, and for anyone who hasn't come across it yet, well, you've got a lot of time by yourself, a lot of time possibly you're spending with strange and different people, and maybe there are people in your life that you're kind of not seeing so much at the moment, which might be a good thing. But this, Jon Ronson's The Psychopath Test. This is an absolutely brilliant volume. It is well worth your time. Spend whatever it costs you on Amazon or Waterstones or whichever other book retailer, independent retailers are available. Most of them are still delivering, even if you can't go into a physical shop and buy the books. Whatever it costs, this is worth it. It may change your life, and certainly for me it was very helpful in dealing with certain situations that I find myself in, and certain people that I was struggling to deal with. Talks about L. Ron Hubbard. It talks about other the sort of pre-Trumpian elements in this as well. But it's absolutely fascinating. It sort of delves into sort of the diagnosis of people who are psychopaths. It's a term that is often used. You will hear it, particularly in sort of relationships where somebody is trying to belittle the other partner. You know, oh, you're a psycho. And I think we use it without ever really understanding what the term means. But it's a very, very loaded word, a very, very loaded term. But also psychopaths, genuine psychopaths, are very, very dangerous and should be avoided as best as possible. There is a list within the book itself that lists the different conclusions, the 20-point higher PCLR checklist, which apparently details how you can spot a psychopath. I will read this out to you. This is literally 20 points, not even a full page of a near 300-page book, so I'm not spoiling anything for you. The joy is Jon Ronson's journey that he does himself. But the points in which will help you to determine whether or not someone is a psychopath include glibness and superficial charm, grandiose sense of worth, grandiose sense of self-worth, the need for stimulation, proneness to boredom, pathological lying, cunning and manipulative, lack of remorse or guilt, shallow affect, callous, lack of empathy, parasitic lifestyle, poor behaviour controls, promiscuous sexual behaviour, early behaviour problems, lack of realistic long-term goals, impulsivity, irresponsibility, failure to accept responsibility for one's own actions, many short-term marital relationships, juvenile delinquency, revocation of conditional release, and criminal versatility. Now, I gotta be honest, there's a few points in there that I think others may point out to me as being a potential psychopath, and probably most of us will spot at least one or two things, which, if we're being honest about ourselves, do seem familiar. But it is that combination, it's that whole list. It's not just, you know, one or two things isn't enough to say that you're a psychopath. I mean, we all have little tendencies of one shape or form or another, and possibly it's learned behaviour, etc., etc. But that combination is absolutely terrifying, and I genuinely know hands down that I have met, worked with, lived with genuine psychopaths, and it is quite disturbing. Those people have been in my personal sphere far too often. Some of them seem to get on very, very well, but it's always good just to be aware of them. Yeah, so that is something I think is well worth reading. On that same note, we've just published up over on CinePunked.com our Gaslight podcast. Now, this was a podcast that we recorded at the Crescent Arts Centre in Belfast in early 2019. It's me, Rachel Kelly, and Liz Nelson on stage. We took the 1940 Thorold Dickinson film Gaslight, based on the 1930 Patrick Hamilton play. And we use that to explore the terminology gaslight and gaslighting, to explain what it is, and to look at how that works within both the political spheres, because whenever we record it in particular, it had been used quite a lot in terms of American politics, and was also finding its way into British and Irish politics as well. And global politics, but also more specifically about the domestic field, about people who are in abusive, coercive relationships, people who are in fact being gaslit on a regular basis. It's not an easy listen to. I listened to it again yesterday, just before I posted it. Some of it definitely feels a little bit uncomfortable, and I can hear my own sort of emotional response. I just don't even try and hide it, which is not something I always do. Every now and then when we deal with certain topics, I let myself be more emotional, more direct, but it is there. It is interesting to have a listen to. I would thoroughly recommend that you give it a whirl, and you know, it might be something that might be of use to you and to your friends and whatnot. But yeah, just something to be aware of. So this is it. This is basically, whilst you're in isolation, this could be the time to develop just an awareness about unhealthy relationships and unhealthy people and places. Feeling that if you feel more cynical about it, this could be your way to increase your own paranoia ahead of goodness knows whatever else. It's not paranoia. What was that a friend of mine used to say? It's not paranoia if they are out to get you. I'm not entirely sure, but yeah, whether you're a cynic or whether you're someone who genuinely wants to learn and is concerned, I think it's a good time, and it's a good time to explore things, and it's a good point in which we can improve our lives for the future. Anyway, that's my diatribe for today. Sorry for these little mini lectures. They're meant to be little short videos, but every now and then I get carried away. So until the next time, I'm Robert J. Simpson. You know by now all the social media links. You can find them, and hopefully I'll be back again in the next couple of days.